Game up hard hydration. It's like your favorite sports drink and your favorite seltzer got together, had a baby, but it's so much better. Let them know about it.
We're talking about 4 great flavors here. We're talking fruit punch, orange, lemon lime, and grape. Guys, it comes in an 8-pack, but most importantly, it's only 110 calories, low carb. Enjoy it. Don't feel guilty about it. Just like you can enjoy
Raw on Netflix. The debut finally happened. I kind of heard, mixed sentiments about it. Overall, I love the show. I love the look of it, the production. WWE does it top notch. What did you think of it?
I thought it was a good spectacle. Overall, I enjoyed myself watching it. Punk and Rollins in the main event was fun. Punk got the win. Rhea Ripley back on top. She won the title from Liv Morgan, and I think now she can continue her momentum to being the biggest women's star in wrestling. Also, great to see The Undertaker come back and celebrate with Rhea. And I think this was pointed out on other podcasts too. Here we have in the Paul Levesque era, old stars coming back to help put over the younger talent, not being the main part of the thing, just coming back there, to help give their nod. And that stuff you like to see. Roman Reigns, he's the tribal chief now. He beat Solo, which that leads into, I really want to talk about The Rock here for a minute, because I think this is some of the polarizing stuff. The Rock basically was out of character for most of this. And I think a lot of people were turned off by that. Some people still loved it because it was The Rock. I just took it as we don't have him nailed down for WrestleMania yet. So in the meantime, we're squashing the stuff with Cody. And the way he put the Ula follow on Roman and then looked at him afterwards, to me, it told the story that you could go either way with it. He could be supporting him, or maybe there's more to it.
Yeah, I definitely got the feeling that this was more, I don't even know how to put it, Rock. Even though he was out of character, you were getting The Rock. You weren't getting The Rock in a storyline. You were getting WWE legend The Rock kicking off Raw in a big way. And it was huge because you went from that great intro video at the beginning, which I wanted to talk about just because if you were a fan of wrestling, it was a great summary of everything. If you didn't know about wrestling, it was kind of a good catch up. And then it went to Triple H very quickly. And then he brought out The Rock. And it was a little weird that they weren't continuing what's been going on like all year with The Rock.
Right.
But this was kind of a special event. And this was like getting out your heaviest hitters, which we'll talk about later in the show.
Oh, yeah.
Sometimes it worked for them and sometimes it didn't. But it was interesting. I thought it was the better of the 2 Rock appearances, if I'm going to be honest.
Okay. Yeah, I'll disagree a little bit with that a little bit later when we talk about Rock on Netflix. But I would say this one had more purpose.
Now,
okay, so just other notes of this Raw show too, before we move on. John Cena, and I'm going to get to the one I know we want to talk about too, Joe, don't worry. But John Cena has announced that he will be in the Royal Rumble. One other little note I just want to say, the WWE had an after Raw talk. They wanted to take Jey Uso for yeeting with Travis Scott, but not inhaling, because apparently they didn't want Jey smoking up on the show. But I thought that was pretty funny and cool. But yeah, great show overall. But yes, the one thing that we hadn't talked about that I want to say, Hulk Hogan back. He came
crashing down, and it hurt this man inside. I loved it. And like, I'm a Hogan fan from like a child, but it's like there has been some damage done over the years. And I don't know why this was so hilarious. The funniest part was Jimmy Hart, who was like caught in the background and couldn't get away from it. He went from waving the flag to holding the flag to, I don't know what he might have called Hulk Hogan under his breath, but like, this is the first time it's really publicly went against Hogan this bad. Even right after the video, it wasn't as bad as this.
No. They couldn't get out of that segment fast enough, too. It was funny because I'm listening to him get booed, and then I'm like, oh, man, he's got to read this stupid beer thing now, which I'm like, this is going to get even more boos, and it does. And then Cole, like, he reads that about as fast as he could. They don't want to be in this at all. I heard the jokes afterwards. I think Pat McAfee had somebody dressed like Hogan on his show afterwards, and he said, I'm mad at that little runt Jimmy Hart. They were booing Jimmy Hart out there, which I thought, all right, good for Pat. He's having fun with it. But I said this in the group chat. I mean, it is what it is. If Tony Khan wants to be like Booker of the Year, I think that you sign Hulk Hogan somehow and then you have the Hurt Business just beat the shit out of him.
A special Martin Luther King Day match.
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to think if there was anything else we could do to really establish this. But yes, that's, I think, what needs to happen. We just need Hogan beat up, going away. Maybe Mark Henry could come back and induct him in the Hall of Pain. I don't know.
I will say credit to Hogan for making it through what he had to say.
Oh, yeah.
Not really stumbling, not acknowledging anything. Like, if there was one takeaway, this man is a true professional because, like, You could have let that situation get to you, and he plowed through. I mean, I think the saddest thing on top of him getting booed was just how poorly he tore that t-shirt. And then what was funny was as he's walking away, you could still see the t-shirt hanging off his ass. And like, that's how bad that segment went, that the t-shirt didn't fully tear. And then he's like, Jimmy, brother, we got to get out of here.
We got to get to WCW Saturday night, brother, where we belong. This ain't working.
What would you think if Hogan turned heel at this time?
Honestly, let's just get away from Hulk Hogan at this point. In all seriousness, you know what I mean? I just don't think that he's good publicity unless, he's coming out doing speeches for the UFC where Dana White, Trump, and Kid Rock and Hogan and everybody seemed to all be like the Avengers or something to that crowd. But other than that, I just don't think he really goes well with this WWE. Yeah, I think it was Pollock or somebody said we'll have our first trade in the TKO, regime. It'll be Hogan to the UFC, which I mean, I think it makes it, he gets cheered over there. I don't know if he would have been cheered in LA no matter what, but it's whatever. I just don't think, I think Mark Henry put it best. Mark Henry said, when you say the kind of things he said, you can apologize and you can do things about it. And eventually, people will look at you differently. But if you never say anything or do anything about it, it's not just going to go away. Because he's offered to help Hogan out and have him come on tour with him and, speak with him. Hogan didn't want anything to do with it, and Mark's a guy, if you ever followed Mark Henry, he's a straight shooter. He doesn't give a fuck. Somebody gonna get their ass whipped. Somebody gonna get their wig split. Mark Henry don't give a shit. Like there's nothing, he's not worried about any repercussions. At the end of the day, yeah, I don't think it's just that though. I think the wrestling community is kind of tired of Hogan. I think it's because, he's been caught lying about so many stories over the years, and then you take in the political regime thing and everybody's so divided on that too. It's just Hogan's not going to be a very popular guy in a lot of places. Some places are going to love him, I bet, though.
100%. But the thing is, WWE is sponsoring that beer. So is there a way to still mention the beer, but not have Hogan involved?
Yeah, you just put it on the ring. Just have his beer. That's where you get it.
Just run a commercial for it as well?
Or Saturday night's main event, nostalgia, Yeah.
How is that going to go for Saturday night's main event? He's been rumored to be involved with that next one coming up. And I love on the ring that it's Riyadh season in one corner and Hulk Hogan's beer in another corner. Yeah. It's just very funny.
I think that I'm going to call this now. This is my prediction. Hogan, if he's a part of Saturday night's main event, will be involved in backstage pre-tape segments.
Safe way to do it.
If you haven't tried Game Up, then you are missing out. Imagine your favorite seltzer and your favorite sports drink had a baby. But it's way better than that. Each can is 110 calories, low carb, 4.9 ABV. It's a nice light drink that is not light on flavor. Game Up comes in fruit punch, orange, lemon, lime, and grape. Pick it up at drinkgameup.com or at your nearest liquor store.